Hello out there, once again to the people of the internet. Tis I, Gary. Oh, it's actually kind of fitting that I'm wearing my Captain America shirt and then there's a flag in the background because of what I'm going to talk about. So, even I didn't even realize that till just now. Um, so we are basically going to war with Iran. Um, and I don't totally understand why. And it's interesting because I was in a discussion about this with somebody, and I don't know if I have the conversation still. Let's see if it's. Uh, Probably not. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Nope. So basically, why are we going to war, or why are we bombing Iran, and why are we killing, or why is the leader dead, the Ayatollah of Iran? Um, here's how I look at it. If it's another nation outside of the United States, right, that we don't control, that we have no ownership over, is it our problem? Right? Is it our problem? I don't think that stuff like this involves us, right? What is going on with whatever is going on with this nation? Sure, I can feel sad as a human being that it's happening. I can, the same thing with Ukraine. Russia's trying to take over Ukraine, and you can feel sad about that too. Despite, you can say, well, Russia used to own it at one point, so they're technically taking back what's theirs, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It's not my problem. It's not the United States problem. Sorry, it's not the United States problem. What does that have to do with us? So let's use Ukraine as an example. Let's say we keep pouring how many dollars into this, which, Trump sat there with the leader of Ukraine and he said, I'm not giving you any more money. We already gave you enough money. That was a Biden thing. I'm not taking part in that. So let's assume that we give Ukraine a butt ton of money to win this war, right? So that they can keep their nation and stay intact, yada, yada, yada. We assume, or at least I believe this is something Bill Clinton used to say when he was, in office, or, at one point. He said, doing so, investing in a nation like this, you assume then the idea is that this nation, Ukraine, is going to then bounce back and have some type of a healthy economic boom. That they are all of a sudden going to have all these jobs and create all these businesses, and all of a sudden this nation's going to be a plethora of money and wealth and growth and blah 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 blah, to the point then that they make money as a nation supposedly, and that they can in turn pay us back what we gave them with maybe a little interest, is the general idea, which is not going to happen. It's not going to happen with any nation that we invest in. Now, we're not necessarily investing in Iran, we're bombing it. And let's see if I can figure out why are we so What is the reason for the Iran war? The war followed a decades-long proxy war. Iran has called for Israel's destruction and armed Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Furthermore, Iran's nuclear program has caused international concern for over a decade. Let's see here. Let's see. Which also the president said the bombing will continue uninterrupted throughout the week or as long as necessary for our objective of peace throughout the Middle East and the world. Well, I don't believe that for a minute. I would have. Trump said the main objective of the U.S. was to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. Okay, I'm on CNN right now, CNN.com. I don't believe that for a minute. Those threats, he said, included their nuclear program, which the White House claimed to have totally obliterated when it briefly joined Israel's war against Iran back in June. So, again, this probably has something to do with them having nuclear weapons. But apparently they didn't have them. They do have them now. Didn't we already stop this or whatever? I mean, again, here's what I say. So possibly Iran is making nuclear weapons. If we can confirm it, if there is total confirmation that these weapons exist, the president also repeated his disputed claims that Iran is building ballistic missiles which could reach the U.S. mainland. I mean, if we can confirm that Iran has weapons, then yes, we will, do what we need to do. If there is no actual credible threat, if there's no evidence to suggest that anything's actually going on and these guys are probably just out there doing their thing, just existing, then we need to let them exist. I almost hate to say don't attack unless you get attacked first, but you hate to make the first strike because then it's like if you make the first strike under false assumptions, then you look like the idiot. Then you look like the idiot for doing something that you shouldn't have done. And I would hate to attack a nation that was probably not doing anything wrong in the first place that didn't deserve us attacking them. Again, what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine? That has nothing to do with us. That is two nations going after each other, and neither of those nations are going after the U.S., and this has nothing to do with the U.S. It reminds me, every time you apply for a new job, they always usually ask you, there's usually a question somewhere, like, what do you do when you see two employees arguing with each other on, in the workplace? What do you do? What is your response? They want you to sit there and say something profound, like, hey, I'm going to be the person of peace and I'm going to ease the tension, yada yada yada. But in reality, my response is always usually, I'm just going to walk away and let those two deal with it because it's not my problem. I'm not HR. I don't, I just want to go to my job, do what I'm supposed to do, and then leave when it's time for me to leave. I hate to say it, but that's usually how I work when I work. And I feel like that should be the same thing anymore with politics, at least global politics. If a nation's doing something and it does not bother us as Americans, if it doesn't threaten our way of life, then we should not be giving two flying hoots to the wind. If you want to have your, legal age of drinking go down to 16 and you want to say you have to wait until you're 30 to smoke weed, I don't care. Whatever it is you want to do, it's your nation, it's your prerogative, you have your deal. As far as war goes, I mean, you're basically bombing another nation is basically an act of war. And okay, that's another thing. Let's look this up. Let's see. Okay, so here. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the United States Constitution says that Congress shall have power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rulings concerning captures on land and water. That's not really okay. So the Constitution grants Congress the sole power to declare war. Congress has declared war on 11 occasions, including its first with Great Britain in 1812. Congress approved its last formal declaration of war during World War II. So let's try it this way. Only Congress has the formal power to declare war, while the President is Commander-in-Chief and can direct military operations. The President cannot formally declare war without congressional authorization. However, presidents have historically initiated military action without formal declaration, citing national security. So, yeah, a president can do things related to war, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right, at least as far as the Constitution goes. Despite the Constitution, presidents have frequently committed troops to combat. War Powers Resolution of 1973 passed to check executive power. This resolution requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of committing armed forces to action, and limits, though it's often considered to have had limited effect on presidential decisions. So, yes, the president can do something if the president wants to do something, but to outright say, I am declaring war on another nation, at least in this instance, because you're basically saying, we think Iran has nuclear weapons, and we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons that they could potentially use against us, the United States of America. So that's, again, where I say, if you have a credible reason, go to Congress and say, can we declare war? And, given the current state of Congress, they might just go ahead and say yes anyways, unfortunately. But, here ends up being the problem is that every bomb costs you your health care, your housing, your schools, your roads, your jobs, and the lives of the people who are using those bombs. So if that's what you want, go ahead. You'll get it. You'll get a war, and you're gonna lose a lot more than you gain. War isn't hell. War is war, and hell is hell. And of the two, war is actually a lot worse because there are no innocent bystanders in hell. War is chock full of innocent bystanders, little kids, cripples, and even old ladies. So, like, again, don't get me wrong, if there's some bad stuff going on in Iran and there are some serious, if people are seriously getting hurt, abused, whatever, don't get me wrong, I have a heart, the same as everybody else. Those are human beings. They deserve to live the same as everybody else. It's rights for everybody on this planet, yes. But at the same time, that's your nation with your government doing whatever it is they want to do, and that's not our nation to govern. So that means then we would have to come in and declare war to basically tear down your nation to the studs, so to speak, to the foundation, and then we would build it right back up. But then comes the question of, well, who do you put in charge? Do you let them decide and hope they make the right decision, or do we put one of our people in charge? And then the accusation comes that when we put one of ours in charge, then that means we didn't do this to, break up a fight within a nation. We did this because this nation potentially has something of value to give to us. Maybe they're sitting on a large oil reserve and we want all that oil for ourselves. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. But I would personally say do not go to war with Iran unless you are absolutely certain you have a valid reason to do so. Otherwise, you are going to lose a lot in the process. Again, this is what taxes are, right? You pay taxes and it's supposed to go into one big giant pot, and that money should hopefully be evenly divided out amongst things like healthcare, housing, schools, roads, jobs, the people who plow the roads, the people who fix your sewers. Those are not, that money comes from somewhere, and that is your taxes again. That's where that comes from. You pay taxes, and then hopefully the stuff that you see around you that you interact with every day, your parks, your libraries, those all should stay intact and be maintained and whatnot. Social services like foster care for kids, your parents abandoned you and you need a place to stay, so then you need a place for that. All that stuff should be, the wealth should be evenly distributed to make those things happen. But those services fall to the wayside because we end up taking a good chunk of our money, our tax money, and we pour it right back into the military. And we shouldn't be worrying about other nations when we can't even take care of ourselves as a nation. For anybody that sits there and thinks that America's doing just fine, the answer is no, we're not. It's a joke where we're at as a nation. We have how many people that are homeless? We have how many people that are hungry? We have how many people that can't afford a house, that are either still living at home with their parents or they're probably living in an apartment that they'll never get out of? How many people that can't afford the basic things, food, drink, and toiletries, because they're not getting paid enough at their job, or they just have to work a crazy amount of hours to make it happen. So we can't take care of ourselves as a nation because we have things like that are out of whack, that suck, and yet we're going to take the tax money that we have, and instead of funneling it to make our nation better, we're going to then put it into the military to go overseas to another nation to destroy it and then build it back up to make it better, in the supposed hopes that that nation is then going to turn around, have an economic boom, and then funnel that money back into us to make us better. Am I understanding this correctly or no? Because I don't understand it. I guess I just don't understand the purpose of why we are dealing with Iran at all. That's not to say that I don't care. That's just to say that they're over there. Let them do their thing. That's got nothing to do with us. But what do I know? That is all.